So the patient's walking towards the toilet, I'm ushering him back to his bed, I'm putting my apron on, my gloves, and all of a sudden and it was actually my first time seeing a patient die.
If you could describe yourself as a doctor in one word, what would it be?
I'd like to think I'm caring.
If I was to give you 1 meal today, who are you calling first and who are you taking care of first?
That's a very hard question. Everyone could do something with their jobs, whether you're doing medicine, whether you're an architect, whether you're anything. If your intention is to help people in different ways, then you can. I've been using my phone this whole time. Making something that people genuinely want to see. Do Strood for like a minute or two and just try forget everything. I know there's a lot of things happening, but just try think of your connection with Allah. Use Allah as your therapist.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the StriveMed podcast. Today we have a very special guest with us, Mohammed Al-Radawi, Dr. Mohammed Al-Radawi, also known on social media as MedwithMo. He's a practicing Muslim doctor, influencer. He's amassed, Allah Mubarak, quite a large following over his social media channels, documenting his journey throughout med school, transitioning into his life working as a doctor. Just before we get into this episode, a quick word from our sponsors. Healthy Nikah, okay, our first sponsor of the episode. Anyone who's looking to get married to a healthcare professional or someone who is a healthcare professional, this is your place to find your match, find your one. And alhamdulillah, I would say that the team has been doing amazing work over at Healthy Nikah, so many different matches being made and successful marriages, alhamdulillah. So props to them. And second sponsor of the episode is Merate. So Mohammed, this perfume is for you. Special edition from Merate. You can give it a try as well.
Let's have a look at this. It looks very professional.
Yeah, mashallah. We've mentioned it before on here, but it was started by one of our friends, good brother. He's a dentist now, working as a dentist. But he started this in dentistry. So he started it in dental school. So,
mashallah.
It's a very, the quality is amazing, and it also smells very,
smells very nice.
Yeah, and it lasts long.
It's very kind of you.
No worries. All right. Mohammed, you didn't know what to expect today, right?
No, I came in blind. No questions. I don't know anything. So, inshallah, it'll be all good.
Alhamdulillah. And we like to keep it natural as well. Purposefully, we didn't discuss too much over the phone before coming. It's just a nice little introduction.
Exactly.
Get to know each other and debrief amongst colleagues at the end of the day. Like, our job is so busy on a daily basis. We don't get to sit down, without the distractions of social media, without the distractions of our phone. Just sit in a quiet room. It's therapeutic as well, in some respects.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be a nice little downtime.
Inshallah. So we'll start you off actually straight in the deep end. But we know this is your specialty, rapid fire questions. That's what you rose to, prominent social media status.
Listen, all my med school has left my brain.
Don't worry. It's not med school questions,
Okay,
inshallah. Okay, so Dr. Al-Radawi, what's your favorite specialty?
It's Max Fax or ENT at the moment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Why is that?
Do you know, I've done medicine jobs and I've done surgery jobs. So in my F1 I started off on RESP, which was very, very busy. Then I went to geriatrics and then vascular surgery. And I really preferred the surgical vibe. It's a lot more chill. It's a lot less structured, which I actually prefer in the hospital.
Yeah.
And I started doing a lot of shadowing of different specialities, and ENT was just really interesting. Head and neck anatomy is just amazing. When you scrub in and you see like a neck dissection, it's fascinating, mashallah.
Also has a good work-life balance. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Good work-life balance. When I speak to the surgeons, they're all happy. They've all got their private practices. And Max Fax is very similar to ENT, so I didn't really know which one to choose in the beginning. But when I shadowed both, Max Fax seemed a bit more interesting. So I don't know, inshallah, I'll decide in the future. But right now it's just between those two.
That's amazing, mashallah. So we're excited to see your journey, on the social media as well and document it. Have you already applied? You're in F2 now, right?
I just started F2, so right now I'm just shadowing.
Okay,
I haven't really applied to anything yet.
May Allah grant you success on that journey. I mean. What's your least favorite specialty?
Psychiatry. And it's not because I had a placement during while I was in F1, but med school was the worst placement I've ever had. In final year, I was put on a women's only ward. And it was crazy, doors were being broken.
Yeah.
There were fights all the time.
Yeah. SubhanAllah. You have to be very strong to succeed in psych. But psych
is a whole different side of medicine.
You got to start a gym membership.
One guy actually did that. One guy I know. We were in MMA class. I was like, oh, how come you got interested in this? And he was like, oh, bro, I just started psych rotation, man. And I'm already small as it is. So
Yeah, bro. Some of the patients. Yeah, I mean, it's sad to see, but
Yeah. Even though, like, obviously, disclaimer, it's not all like that anyway. Like, obviously, experience changes. Like, I had a psych placement in fourth year medical school, and I really, really enjoyed it. Obviously, psych itself, there's so many different subspecialties, so it really depends on. And you're currently on psych as well, isn't it? Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later on, but yeah, it all depends on where you are. To be fair,
and I think, to be honest, every specialty, you're able to help people in a different way.
Exactly.
And I guess it's just what you're mainly cut out for, right? But I think obviously there's a reward to be gained from Allah in every single specialty. Me personally, when someone asks me like, what specialty, or like, why wouldn't you like to do this specialty? To be honest, I would technically like to do all specialties. But for me, it's just about maximizing your time in the dunya. Like, you can't technically do all, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, every single specialty is helping someone. And that's mainly our goal at the end of the day. So.
If you could describe yourself as a doctor in one word, what would it be?
Oh, that's a very hard question. As a doctor, in one word. I'd like to think I'm caring. You know, I genuinely do care about my patients. You know, even the small things that a lot of people don't like doing. Like, for example, one of the, you know, the main thing you do as an F1, not main things, but, you know, you do as an F1, like next of kin discussions, dating families. I think when you experience the other side of things, being a patient and not getting those updates, it really makes you worried. So as a doctor, I try, you know, help those people by actually just calling them, updating them, make sure they understand the plans so they know actually what's happening. So yeah.
It's so hard, honestly. Well, what you said, you hit the nail on the head. Like, when you're on the other side, you realize, and you just, like, even now, one of my family members was making a dua for one doctor who facilitated a discharge summary for one of her family members. And that's like maybe like 5-6 months ago. And she's still making dua for that one.
So you see, like, discharge summaries are like usually bottom of the list in terms of priority in a hospital, but to the patients and to the families, they want to leave the hospital as soon as possible. So these small jobs actually have a big impact.
No one likes staying.
But yeah, exactly, no one likes doing it. But, you know, if you go in with the intention to help people, inshallah, like, you can do these small things to have big changes.
Exactly, and you realize how hard it is actually to stay in the hospital, even though everyone tries their best and they have the facilities to make it as comfortable as they possibly can. But reality is, there's nothing like home.
No, exactly, no.
You see that a lot in geriatrics, yeah. Like, as in the home environment will always be a lot more comfortable for those patients.
Yeah, 100%. I think there's also limitations in place as well. If they're trying to arrange a package of care, all of these things, and even without medical needs as well, particularly, patients can be staying in hospital for a long time.
Yeah, you see some patients staying in for months and months only because of a package of care or, you know, like complex discharge.
Yeah.
Which can be quite annoying for the patient and
us as well.
Exactly, yeah, because, you know, we're not doing anything for the patient, and it's not really a waste of bed. Obviously, there's someone there who needs it because they can't go home, but at the same time, there's other people who need beds, and it's just the whole system is sometimes quite annoying.
All right, so the next question is, obviously you've had different people who have been supporting you on your come up to reach this position, etc. So the next question is that if I was to give you 1 meal today, who are you calling first and who are you taking care of first?
First will obviously be my parents, my mum and my dad. I think they've actually always been supportive of what I do. They've always helped me. So definitely it'll be my parents. My siblings, I've got 3 younger siblings, so I'll definitely be calling them as well. Even though they haven't been as supportive, I think my parents have been a lot more supportive. But they've always been there for me, you know, giving me ideas, helping me record. So I'll definitely be calling them first. In terms of friends, I think my med school friends were very supportive as well. When I first started doing social media, it was around 3rd year when I actually started recording TikToks. But from 1st year, I've always wanted to start YouTube. But I've always been very, very camera shy, and, you know, being behind the screen was something that I never wanted to do. So YouTube seemed very daunting, you know, long 10-minute videos.
It is.
When TikTok came out, it was 30-second, 20-second videos. You know, it's not that deep. So I was like, cool, I'll start that. And all my friends were actually very supportive. They were being in the videos as well. You know, they were recording for me. And having that environment around you just kind of like helps you grow. So alhamdulillah, like, I'll definitely be supporting my friends as well if I do get that meal.
And with TikTok, you don't even have to be in front of the camera, you know.
Exactly. Like you see a lot of my quizzes, I'm behind the camera.
Yeah.
I hate those quizzes. But,
That's subhanAllah. That's actually very interesting. And props for coming today. Obviously, it's not very easy doing your first podcast,
yeah,
but
exactly.
inshallah, that's nice. So I wanted to touch upon a topic which is about seeing different reminders. Obviously, we're dealt with the stark reality of life, the nature of life when we're in our workplaces. And no matter which different specialties we may be doing, there's something to see which just really reminds you and kind of kicks you into the right gear. So one of the ones which I'll start us off. I think one of the ones which I found very interesting is working in psychiatry. It's not the same nature of psychiatry that you were doing. It's more old age dementia, adult specialist dementia team, right? So I have to do a lot of memory assessments and Addenbrook's cognitive examination, which is basically involves just testing their cognitive function from a variety of different avenues, right? And for me, subhanAllah, it was just profound, just seeing how the kind of cognitive function declines with age. And it's just very scary. Like, you know, sometimes husband and wife comes in, the husband has a bit more like cognition, and maybe the wife doesn't have as much, and they're both kind of making do. Or sometimes it's the other way around as well. Or sometimes it's both of them. They need more care at home, package of care. So for me, it was just profound to see that even in the Quran, Allah mentions that that Allah is the one who's created us from weakness to strength, and then back to a state of weakness as well. So, you know, seeing these different signs of Allah, and also it just made me think that, like, how much time do we actually have? Okay, there's one thing for our parents as well. We're all trying to strive and be on this come up for our parents. And first of all, we want to make sure that they have the best possible, you know, time that they can have. Okay, but how much time do we actually have? So, with regards to our limited lifespan, but how much of that lifespan do we have where our cognition is actually intact, whereby we can actually make a difference to the world and to society, try to increase our points for the akhirah at the end of the day. So I think that's just something profound which I came across. Is there anything, you're on orthopedics now, or is there anything else recently you came across?
I've got a story of when I first started medicine. I think it was a few weeks into starting F1, and there was a patient who had a background of history of respiratory, of cancer, and he, all of a sudden, he wasn't my patient. I didn't know anything about him at the time. I was walking to the MDT on a Wednesday, and one of the nurses runs out of the bay saying, doctor, there's a patient vomiting blood. I'm like, okay, sounds like an emergency. I'll go in and start my ATE examination. So the patient's walking towards the toilet, you know, I'm ushering him back to his bed. I'm putting my apron on, my gloves. You know, as I'm walking him back to his bed, I see it full of blood. You know, the bed's full of blood. The vomit bowl, which, you know, is quite deep, full of blood to the brim. And I was like, okay, this is when, you know, to shout for help. I call my my SHO. She comes running in. We're helping this patient back into the bed, and all of a sudden he just freezes up and passes away. We start doing CPR, half an hour, you know, the team come. Unfortunately, he passes away. And it was actually my first time seeing a patient die, or seeing a dead body in front of me. And subhanAllah, it really made me think that, you know, life can be taken away from me at any moment. You know, like any second, Allah can come and take the life away from you. And you need to make the most out of your life. You know, alhamdulillah, like, you know, everyone can do something with their jobs, whether you're doing medicine, whether you're an architect, whether you're anything. If your intention is to help people in different ways, then you can. You know, everyone has a certain skill set you can help your community with, you can help other people with. You know, people think that I want to be a doctor because I directly help people, but you can do that in anything that you do. Everyone has a certain skill set. So I guess that's just my message to everyone, is to go out, help people in whatever manner that you've been created with. You know, everyone's been created with a certain skill set. Alhamdulillah, like, we've been created to become doctors. Other people have been created for other reasons. So use that skill set and help others around you, because you never know when life will, you know, stop at any point.
Yes, true, subhanAllah. And those instances which Muhammad just mentioned, I'm sure you could rattle off hundreds, to be honest. Like, that's what happens day in, day out in the workplace. And obviously it's very important for us to have debriefs like this in order to make sure our heart doesn't become hard, so we can actually reflect on that. Otherwise it can become monotonous and you're just going in on a daily basis. But the reality is you're seeing all of these reminders on a daily basis. It's actually crazy.
Like one of my night shifts, I saw 4 or 5 deaths I had to verify at night. And I'm like, you know, this person was a big professor, this person was this massive, but at the end of the day, we're all going to be buried, you know, under the soil. So, you know, we're all going to the same place. You know, the only things that will carry us is our hasanat in this dunya. So you got to make sure you utilize your time wisely.
Yeah, everyone's going to the same destination. But it's important what you mentioned about, I just want to make sure that we don't overlook that point about ensuring that you still utilize your skill set and your orbit. Everyone has a different sort of niche or skill set, or Allah Jalla has blessed them with. Everyone has a talent, yeah. So it's important, because a lot of people either they spend their entire lives unaware of this specific purpose that they've been created, or the reason, or what, or making the most of their life, or they are aware, but they just haven't realized or found what their orbit is or their skill set. So there's a lot of time that's wasted. So I think this is extremely important, especially, I mean, even if we just touch on our specialties, and not specialties, but our roles as doctors, we're in an amazing position. I'll be honest, like Allah barik, like we just need to utilize it, because the impact that we can have on people's lives, you mentioned like previously, like updating next to kin, like there's so many small things within our job day-to-day basis that we can do to acquire a reward and make a difference to someone's life, you know. So I think that's just very important. I don't think that should be overlooked at all.
Yeah, even as medical students, you know, you might think as a student, you know, I have no authority to be making decisions, but again, these small jobs, students, you can do. So, you know, students can still make a massive difference to people.
And just to add to that, innamal a'malu binniyat, right? So is that we're doing even these small things, right? And what is it that's in our heart, you know, before we're doing action, during it, after it? Does our intention get corrupted? Because reality is that you will receive a lot of praise and thanks from the people as well while we do it. So oftentimes as well, even before we're doing an action, even if you have to pause a little bit and just think, because reality is there's so many opportunities. Let's say you've done 100 actions of khair within the day in the workplace. How many of those will you actually be rewarded for? Obviously, Allah knows that. You know what's in your heart. You know, Allah knows what your heart conceals. So if you're doing it for the praise of people, in order to be thanked, and you're not doing it sincerely for Allah, then obviously that's what you'll get at the end of the day. But if you're doing it to please Allah and reward in the akhirah, then inshallah that's what you get. So again, that's something again we shouldn't take for granted. And it's even those small bits of opportunity, and sometimes even when you're commuting to work, you just reach halfway and you're like, subhanAllah, I could have been rewarded all this way reaching to work, but I didn't actively think about the process. I've reached halfway now. Let me try and change it up and make my intention. Even just realizing how big of a thing it actually is that you're doing. You're going to work, you're earning halal rizq. This goes to every single profession that's out there, let alone one with so many options for hasanat as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I'll just mention something as well. Like, this is a complete stark difference to this is subhanAllah how profound medicine is. Yeah, because I'm currently on obstetrics and gynecology. I'm doing a form of placement, and bro, like this, it just shows you the stark difference. Like I'm at the beginning. You're seeing like obviously, you're seeing an individual's the beginning of one's journey. And obviously then I've done placements on care of the elderly. I've seen obviously patients pass away. You're in those scenarios, but just the stark difference, subhanAllah. Like one, obviously everyone's sad and there's like, you know, people are crying and tearful and for obvious reasons. And then on the other side, you just see like happiness, especially in the theatre room, like C-sections. I've scrubbed in many C-sections. But also, I think one thing I've taken away is how, you know, Allah Jalla there's an ayah in Surah Nahl. Allah says, "Wallahu akhrajakum min butuni ummahatikum la ta'lamuna shay'a." Allah Jalla, He brought every single person. God brought every single person into this world, and they, as a baby, obviously, and they knew nothing, no knowledge of anything. They're so dependent, feeds, everything, like being taken care of. So it's interesting because it really enhances your humility. Like it instills in humility as well when you reflect on the fact that you came into this world not knowing anything at all, and you're dependent on your parents, you're dependent on your, obviously Allah Jalla was the one that took care of you from the very beginning. So it really instills humility, and it's just that stark difference seeing that like, you know, from the beginning of one's journey to the end. It's interesting, man, like, honestly.
Yeah, subhanAllah. And as well, like you mentioned, you need all that family, you need people to feed you when you've been born, but it's always the same at the other side of life. You know, when you get really old and you're demented, you need people to help you,
Exactly.
need people to feed
Take
you.
care
So
of you,
subhanAllah,
yeah.
like both sides of life have similar like things, characteristics.
There's too many. Even a lot of the communication styles when you speak to them.
Exactly. Yeah.
But to be honest, also like there's an immense amount of joy in just speaking to elderly people, even speaking to kids. You notice how whenever kids, like anytime anyone sees a child, they smile, no matter what race, background, anyone like they are, that they all tend to smile. And it's interesting you say that, Zakaria. Obviously, I know when we've been speaking over the phone and, you know, catching up recently, that your work is very, very busy. But there's all of these ayat coming out, and or even labor. Have you had time in the labor ward or something? Like, even that, if you've had any experience of that, is profound. Even in the Quran, with Surah Maryam, when Maryam alayhi salam said, "Ya laytani mittu qabla hada wa kuntu nasiyan mansiya," mentioning that if only I was dead and basically forgotten. Like the pain was that intense. And then you realize all that the mothers go through after the birth as well, all the processes, just taking care of. So you get an immense access to the richness of life and just all these different sides. And it's really upon you to take those reflections and use them in the right way to become a better person.
Exactly. Like subhanAllah, like there's so many signs of Allah in front of us. We just have to kind of open our eyes and actually see them.
Yeah, bro, even the anatomy, like, you know, like, have you not seen a uterus?
I've
Oh,
scrubbed into the C-section
yeah,
before,
bro,
man.
subhanAllah, like first time I saw it, and obviously we're in the C-section, and then obviously the like literally when we're trying to sort of, the baby's been delivered, bro, it's astounding, like this, because you, like, it's such a confined, dark, small space. But like how Allah has been, like, that baby's been taken care of for 9 months, like in terms of its nutrients, in terms of its, you know, everything, like. So it's profound, man. Like, I was taken aback, honestly. You're taken aback. And then how even like the importance of like this, there's so many elements in that surgery, or even in normal delivery, yeah. If anything like goes wrong, like it can have like a big implication, you know, to the life of the mother and the baby. So it's just profound, like, because for all of this stuff, like, this is small percentage of what the human knowledge encompasses, like just a small percentage. Imagine Allah Jalla Ala's knowledge, infinite wisdom and everything. It's just, you can't.
Exactly, like all the years and research and knowledge that we have.
Yeah.
And how much do we actually know? Like,
Exactly.
in terms of anatomy and medicine, we don't even know that much. Like in terms of what's out there.
Bro, you know, that anatomy you mentioned is also the fact that those adaptations are taking place throughout pregnancy, and the changes in the structure of the pelvis and the muscles and all of these taking place synergistically, naturally, in order to optimize the body for the ultimate stage of delivery. It's actually, subhanAllah.
SubhanAllah, yeah.
It's amazing. So, you know, based on those obviously reflections, right? You, when you reflect on any of Allah's signs, it prompts you to do something, prompts you to take action upon that. So obviously, you realize that it's Allah who created all of these things around us, all the things in the heavens, the earth, the skies, etc. And He has basically ordained everything, right? So that leads you to realizing that it's only Allah who has the right to be worshipped. You know, nothing else has the right to be worshipped in truth, except for Allah. So obviously, a big part of that is salah, the prayers, which is our connection with Allah. And this is one of the things which we very much liked about your content as well, is that you make sure, even in your reels, day in the life and things like this, you make sure to reference that and basically show people that, you know, it's important to fit in the salah, even throughout the craziest shifts, the busiest work.
Exactly, yeah. I think it's very, very important. You know, you'll have a very busy day. You're very occupied. Your mind's very occupied with patients and treatment plans and all these things, but at the back of your mind you should always have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala there. And just to take 10 minutes out of your time, you know, no one will ever stop you. I've never had a doctor stop me from going to pray, whether it's after lunch, before lunch, before a surgery, if I just tell the consultant, listen, I have to go pray, they're like, yeah, go do your thing. So there really isn't an excuse for anyone to kind of not go and pray. I mean, there's a prayer room in most hospitals. I've never worked in a hospital that there hasn't been a prayer room. If there isn't, I mean, there's always different rooms that you can go and pray in. So I mean, it should be very easy for everyone, and just taking that 10 minutes, just reflect on the day, pray to Allah, and then go back to doing your job. I mean, 10 minutes isn't going to change anything in the hospital, but it'll change everything for you.
Yeah. Has it done anything for you? Like, some people say, like, for them, obviously we already know like the benefits it has spiritually, but I'm saying like some people say like, yeah, it gives them a bit of mental clarity. Just like it's almost like nourishment in terms of mentally, like especially taking time out.
I think in a very practical sense, like taking breaks is very important in any job, right? So use salah as your break from all the hustle and bustle of work. So just go, sit down, pray. Sometimes me and my friends would go in the prayer room and just read a bit of Quran together, and then we just go back. And it's just a nice little outlet for us to go and just chill. You know, there's always crazy things in the hospital happening in the hospital, and it will never stop. Unfortunately, it will just never stop. There's always another patient waiting. You know, in A&E, there's always a long line of patients. It's not like you're going to finish your job for the day. The job is never finished in medicine. It's always, you know, you hand over to the on-call and they carry on your job. So you should never let the worries of life kind of take over you and make you forget your salah.
Do brothers have any kind of thoughts on, with regards to your mind's racing, as you said, millions of jobs and things like that? So when you go to pray, during your prayer time, you sometimes, many people, they complain about this, is the fact that their mind is still preoccupied on what's taking place earlier. They may not have that khushu, that tranquility within the prayer and things like this. So any strategies that you guys have come across with regards to this?
I think sometimes just sitting alone and just reflecting or reading a bit of Quran, I think really, really does help. Like, even if you're sat on the prayer mat, before you pray or after you pray, just have that 1 minute of reflection, or sometimes do it in sujood. I like to do that sometimes as well, where, you know, just do sujood for like a minute or two and just try forget everything. You know, I know there's a lot of things happening, but just try think of your connection with Allah, think of something else, think of what you have to, like, what things are you proud of. Speak to Allah as well. Be like, just have a normal conversation. I feel like a lot of people underestimate the connection they have with God, and you know, you can just sometimes sit down and have a normal conversation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, tell him about your day, tell him what's worrying you, ask him for things. And yeah, if you know, like therapy, you go in and speak about your day, you just have a normal conversation with a therapist, you tell them what's worrying you, use Allah as your therapist. Yeah,
it's important. I say, like, just obviously regular, like, I mean, that's extremely important, what Muhammad mentioned. And just doing that more frequently on a regular basis is extremely beneficial. Like, ensuring that, obviously sometimes it's difficult because you can only take out, like, I don't know, in an 8-hour shift, you can only take out like maybe 30 minutes. Obviously you get a lunch break, but sometimes that doesn't materialize depending on the specialty, and you have to like take it on the chin, you know, as well. But if you have the ability to take more regular, shorter breaks out during the day, I think that's extremely beneficial. And then doing exactly what Muhammad mentioned.
And I think also incorporating it throughout the day. And basically there's that action of the heart, which is known as tawadu. It's that humility towards Allah, and understanding that you cannot do anything without Allah's aid. So, you know, that very normal connection which you just referred to is that speaking to Allah and about your day and things like this. And that also applies in other areas. So even when you're taking blood, for example, or anyone, even in surgery, a lot of surgeons, they tell me this as well, is that you have that acknowledgement that it's only with Allah's strength that Allah has allowed me to do any of this. Even taking bloods, you know, a lot of people, they say, like, you know, with Allah's aid, they're more successful with the bloods, with the surgery, things like this. So that kind of a connection can be consistent as well with all the actions that you do. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is that, you know, obviously now you're facing that transition. You've done 1 year from transitioning from med school to working as a doctor. Do you feel that with a lot of maybe students in med school, they obviously it takes some time for maturity to occur with regards to it's the reality of what's actually occurring? Because especially on social media, right, a lot of these things can be very heavily glamorized as well, especially with the different knowledge-based things, which obviously some of your videos are, a lot based on knowledge-based and whatnot. But with regards to that maturity gaining process of which med school gives you, and med school gives everyone, and obviously that transition period. So do you have any words to say about that, and like with regards to upcoming students and how they can kind of accelerate that maturity process and just realize what exactly it is that they're getting themselves into?
I think for me, the biggest step in maturity was starting F1 and having to go in 9 to 5 every single day, because that's your job and you have to be there. As a medical student, I don't know about you guys, but I think Bart's actually quite different. You guys have attendance is quite strict.
Yeah.
But most other med schools, attendance isn't as strict. So a lot of people tend to come in an hour late, leave a bit early, which is fine in med school. Obviously, you've got other things to do as well. But when work comes, you have to be there at 8 a.m. when you're on a surgical job. Be there at 8. So you have to leave your house very, very early. And getting into that routine really helps you, become more mature. I see my dad wake up every single morning at like 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, how does he do that? Now, 6 years of med school, and I still really, really struggle. But now when work hits you, you kind of realize, I have a job to do, and you kind of have to make these things normal for you. So wake up early, do your job. But yeah, in terms of maturity as well during med school, I don't know. I have to think about that one.
There's a stark difference between placements and actually starting work, like as an F1. Stark difference, because obviously, as you mentioned, in terms of responsibility, you don't have much responsibility as a med student at all. You're there mainly, obviously, to observe. The placement is what you make of it at the end of the day. So the more involved you are, the more you're going to get out of it. But obviously, as you mentioned, you've still got exams, you've still got there's assignments and things that you have to do. So obviously, it's just balancing your time. So there's a stark difference. So hence why there's a big shock when people finish and they graduate as a doctor, and they finish medical school. When the moment they start F1, they realize wow, everyone thinks that placements will prepare them for it, but really in reality that's not the case. But just to touch on what, and I mentioned the question in terms of maturity in medical school, I think one thing that helped me, and maybe the other med students can take away from, is that having a job, a part-time job, it really, really does help, because it ensures that it gives you that responsibility that you wouldn't otherwise have. It kind of prepares you for the working world. So there's many things. I feel like that's what's benefited me. I had like 2 or 3 part-time jobs throughout my time in medical school, and it really, really benefited me in terms of even my finances and things like this, because other than that, you're more relying on your parents to pay. But for me, I think that benefited me greatly, and it really gave me there was different skill sets it provided me with that allowed me to, I think, mature faster. So that's the one thing I'd say.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And so in med school, I was part of a lot of societies, and you join committees, and again, it gives you that sense of responsibility, like you mentioned. So having responsibility is very, very important, whether it's societies or a temporary job or anything like that. So I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
One of the reels which you made, it was quite popular, was with regards to the different cars and different people driving different cars. The last one was the NHS doctor, is probably the worst car out of all of them. I think there's a lot of that rhetoric going on nowadays, right? And I would like to ask you, obviously besides that, we understand the issues with pay, and many different institutions are experiencing these issues with pay, right? But we wanted to inject some positivity into the wider society, into the wider cohort of doctors, med students. Why would you still say that this is one of the best jobs that someone could do, behind all of that, putting all of that to the side?
So I'm still a big advocate for medicine. I still tell everyone, if you genuinely enjoy medicine, do it. Don't let what the media is telling you now to kind of put you off from it. I think in terms of the pay, because that's, I think, one of the main things that a lot of people talk about, the pay. The pay isn't terrible. So I just want to put it out there. The pay isn't actually that terrible.
Yeah.
You're just overworked. But then when I speak to my friends in office jobs, when I speak to my friends in other jobs, a lot of people are overworked. At the end of the day, every job is busy and has its own difficulties. So you just got to accept every job is difficult in its own way. And alhamdulillah, with this kind of job, you gain so much reward. You're always going in, you're helping people. It's very different. I really like the fact that every day is something different. You're seeing a different type of patient. You're seeing new cases. Some days I'm in surgery, some days I'm in clinics. I really, really do enjoy that, and it's very different. Whereas people doing 9 to 5 jobs, sometimes they struggle because it's very repetitive, and they don't really like that. So yeah, pay is one thing, but putting that aside, it's actually a very fun job. You know, some days I'm in surgery, I'm helping out, I'm doing crazy surgeries, doing suturing on like someone's scalp or neck. The other day I'm speaking to patients in a clinic, very chill environment. And the good thing with medicine is there's so many subspecialties, and you can get into so many different things. You know, you've got people doing, like you said, psych, GP, surgery, medicine. Even with GP, you can then go open up your own little clinic and GP with special interests. And you can use your medicine degree to even branch out and go into medtech or health and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, a medicine degree holds so much value, not just within medicine itself, but you can go out. There's people who go do finance, there's people who go into pharmaceuticals. So medicine opens up your horizons quite a lot. And, you know, it's a very, very good degree to have, even if you don't want to, if you're not sure that you want to be a doctor.
You can even do like aviation medicine. I was speaking to one guy, I was on an ENT placement, and he was telling me that he does, he's well established in the aviation field there, in medicine specifically. What he does is he gets paid to take, what do they call it? Medical repatriation. Like anyone who gets sick abroad, like British national, they obviously insurance covers it, but he gets paid to go fly to that country, wherever they are, their location, assess them, and then bring them back. Obviously, they have to be fit. They have to have had a pre-assessment by a different doctor, but they have to be fit. But so my point is, like, as you mentioned, bro, the scope or what you can go into, there's so many different niches. Like, it's crazy.
Like this aviation thing, I don't know if you've seen the Fly Doctor online.
Yeah.
He has some quite cool things as well, where he's in helicopters helping patients. So there's so much cool things you can do with medicine.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not easy to get in here as well. One of the posts I saw from yours was, I think it was in Abu Dhabi Grand Mosque, and you were just mentioning how basically it was hard to get here, the struggles that you faced. So do you mind telling us a bit about your background? Obviously, it's a source of inspiration for the youngsters out there. Your background, you're from Iraq originally, and you know, just talk about the struggles that you faced.
So I was actually born in this country, but my parents are originally from Iraq, and you know, I went to a normal state primary school, went to a state secondary school, and a state sixth form. You know, not a lot of people got into medicine from my school, so a lot of it was just me doing my own thing. In school, there was probably 2 people before me who got into medicine ever, and so the school didn't really know much in terms of the application process, what to do. So I had to kind of do all that research myself, and I got really lucky because I met the King's College admissions officer at the gym randomly.
Yeah.
And subhanAllah, this guy just came up to me randomly,
Yeah.
started talking to me and said, "What do you want to do?" I told him I want to do medicine. He's like, "Oh, interesting. I'm this.
Interesting.
And he ended up being one of my really, I say close friends, because he came to my house, he gave me presentations on how to apply, helped me with my personal statement. And alhamdulillah, I managed to get an offer and get into med school, despite the challenges. You know, like my sixth form wasn't a top sixth form at all. It was just a normal state sixth form. Came from a very humble background. You know, no private schools, no tutors or anything like that. So I feel like everyone can do it. You know, when I speak to people, I think that's one of the main reasons I started social media, because when I was looking at medicine in sixth form, I was trying to search to see what medicine is like, and I'd find a vlog online, like maybe 1 or 2 vlogs on YouTube. That was all there was at the time, and it's just like a 12-hour study session. I'm like, is that what medicine's really like? Like, I don't want to do that. So the reason why I started was to kind of just showcase a realistic view and insight into what medicine's like. Like, it can be fun, it can be quite chill. It's not always just this revising in the library. And I wanted to kind of encourage these people from these widening participation backgrounds to apply to med school and get into these things, and there's a lot of people that can help them. One of the things I did in med school was, there was an organization called Student Iraqi Medical Association, SEMA,
nice. Yeah.
and we basically just helped people get into med school through interview courses, like very, very cheap or sometimes free interview courses, or UCAT courses, BMAT courses, and all these kind of things. We'd go into schools sometimes and just give presentations, because we know some schools don't have that support. So I went to my school, I actually went back to my sixth form and gave them a presentation and talk to kind of encourage everyone to go and do medicine, and tell them, listen, it's easy to do so. It's not just because you come from this widening participation background that you think everything's so much more difficult. It is more difficult, but you know, there is a lot of universities nowadays have decreased entries for widening participation that people don't know about. So for example, UCL, instead of A-star AA, they'll drop it down to I think AAB,
Yeah.
which is insane. Like it helps a lot of students, but a lot of people don't know that because schools don't tell them. So I kind of just tried getting that message out there and helping those people.
Has the number of children or kids from your sixth form increased in terms of the ones going into medicine, or is still?
I actually don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
That would be good to know, to be fair.
But I do speak to some of the one of the teachers from there, and she tells me sometimes about the students getting in. Mashallah, one guy got into Cambridge medicine, which is really good. So it's always nice to see kind of people from a similar background get into medicine and do well in life.
Yeah, for sure.
So you were mentioning about long form content and obviously how this opportunity opened up for you with regards to short form content. But the reality is that's a very valuable skill nowadays. Obviously, we have the era of TikTok Shop and all of these various, to be honest, in any business, it's very, very important to know how to make short form content. You've got the hook, you've got all these strategies. So, and Allah Barak, you become quite good at it, right? So tell us about the structure of what makes a good reel, how you do it, what's kind of behind it. Like I was interested to know how long it takes to film one of those whole things. Like is it, did it take you very long to edit and to do? Or?
I think it's a lot easier than people think. I've been using my phone this whole time. Never used the camera. You know, a lot of people I see get these cameras and microphones. I've actually don't use a microphone. I don't use a camera. I just on my phone and just use CapCut because it's very easy. And in terms of how long it takes, to be honest, it doesn't. It depends on the type of video. If it's a vlog, it'll take a bit longer. But if it's a quiz, you know, it could take 10 minutes.
Yeah,
it's not too long. But it's just a matter of just making something that people genuinely want to see. Like what's actually interesting. I don't want to see someone faking like 12 hours. Like a lot of people don't fake it, to be honest. I know a lot of people actually do study for 12 hours, mashallah to them. But I don't want to show the boring side of things. I want to show the fun side of medicine, the side that people haven't seen before.
Yeah.
So like, you know, the interesting things of anatomy classes in med school, or sometimes I do a lot of some teaching as well, like how to do like cannulation in 60 seconds. Try to keep it short and engaging and not too long because it can get boring otherwise. Yeah, I think I don't really have a specific tactic. To be honest with you. I kind of
authenticity, and probably from what I'm gathering is authenticity.
Exactly.
Engaging.
I don't post that often. Like when I first started, I was posting a lot more often than now, which was around 2-3 times a week. And now it's once a week, once every 2 weeks, just because of how busy it is as a doctor. But it's because I don't like posting random things that I don't enjoy. So if I record something and I don't like it, I just won't post it. Until I record something that I feel like, okay, people actually like this, then I'll actually post this, or people will engage with this, or people will relate to this. That's something that I'll post.
Did you anticipate that your like the difficulties in content creation during F1 and like obviously starting work compared to medical school?
So I had a lot of difficulties during medical school with the actual medical school itself. So I got in trouble with them. I think for everyone who wants to actually start content creation, there's a lot of rules to kind of abide by and what you can and can't record. And I've had regular meetings with my med school about this. But as a doctor, you know, things get a lot more busy. And it's not even about the time. I think it's about the variety of work that you do. As a med student, every week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you're changing speciality, you're doing something new. You're with all your friends around you. Whereas as a doctor, you're kind of, you know, for every 4 months you change speciality. And there's so much you can record while doing the same thing every single day. You know, you might do a clinic, you might do a surgery, and you might see patients on the ward round, but you can't record in any of those places because it's a clinical environment. You can't do that. And, you know, I'm not going to do a vlog every single day saying, oh, I did a clinic today, or I did another clinic today. It's kind of boring. So you kind of do like one vlog. I feel awkward also asking people to be in videos in a working environment. As a student, it was a bit more acceptable, but in a working environment, I don't really like asking people unless I'm like really close friends with them. So I started recording certain videos with my friends at work once I got to know them a bit more. I think once you start in a professional environment, you kind of want to keep it a bit professional as well. And not be that guy who's always holding the camera up and trying to record and be in everyone's faces.
Yeah, but in terms of what about time management wise? Because obviously in med school, like you kind of like shape your own time. Like you time management is, you've got ample time basically to do things. But obviously when you're working now, obviously the focus becomes your patients and your job and everything. So
so like at work, I don't think of creating videos at all. It's more after work, I'll then sit down and try to think, okay, I need to record, I need to do this. So in terms of time management, you really have to be a lot better with it and have a timetable and like, okay, on this day I'm going to record this thing and then I'll edit it on the weekend when I'm off. The good thing is as well, like there's a lot of off days when you're on calls and stuff. You might get like a 0 day the next day, so it gives me some time to sit down and edit, which is quite nice as well. Or the weekends, majority of weekends I don't work. There's obviously some every now and again, like once a month I might have a weekend shift. But weekends are usually my days off, so I sit down on a Saturday, do my work, and then try to get the videos out later in the day.
Yeah, bro, those 0 days are tough because you spend the entire day recuperating from that.
Especially after a night shift. It's quite intense.
Yeah, but it's difficult, man. It's like when you start work, I tell some of the, like me and Am even, we reflect, like it's easier doing things obviously as a med student in terms of content creation and like side things and things like this. But when you start work, like even trying to tell yourself, okay, 9 to 5, whatever, I'm working on a normal working day, and then 5 to 9 I'll do XYZ. But that 5 to 9, you're just so tired, man, mentally even drained. Like sometimes, remember when we were in ITU, yeah, and ITU, like it's a known fact, like F1s, F2s, your supernumerary. So like it's not as busy. Obviously it's always going to be things to do, but it's not as busy as working in a medical or general medical ward, for example, or A&E. But the thing is, like, even going in after an ITU day, normal working day, not even on call, I was still drained, man. Like, it was just the mental, like, decisions that you have to make day in, day out. I don't know. Or is it the constant interaction?
I think the important thing is to just enjoy what you do.
Yeah.
And don't do it for the sake of doing it. Like, mashallah, you guys are doing this podcast and you've been very regular with it. It's because you guys enjoy what you guys do.
That's true.
You're talking to people. And if you enjoy it, you're going to find time to do it.
100%.
It's like football, for example.
Yeah.
If you enjoy, I haven't stopped playing football.
Yeah.
So if you enjoy something,
you're going to
pursue it. So it's very important to kind of, a lot of people want to start social media just for the sake of doing it, but if you don't actually enjoy it, it's not going to be, it's not going to last long, to be honest.
A lot of people also record vlogs for the sake of it. That's one thing I wanted to mention, is that when you're doing something, like let's say you record your day in the life, there has to be a point at the end, like there has to be some benefit. Like, okay, talk about a case you've seen that really impacted you, talk about how busy, like there needs to be some sort of message. But some people, they just record it and that's it. Like, it's just
exactly. So like my first ever vlog was literally just to show the fun side of medicine, or like what I'm actually doing to people, because I would search online and there wasn't actually, at the time when I first started making vlogs many years ago, there wasn't actually anyone doing TikToks on medicine and quizzes and stuff. Now you can see the whole medicine era on TikTok and Instagram. Everyone's doing it, but before there wasn't many. There was like the big boys like Karma Medic, Ali Abdal on YouTube. So I'd watch those videos, but it's like one video every. There wasn't many vlogs. You don't really get a true insight into what medicine's like. But like regular short form content, give them a snippet of my life as a medical student. It'll be quite fun to see, especially for those students who, the winding participation students that I said earlier. So that was my intention when I first created the videos. And I give a lot of advice, like how to do on your UCAT and your BEMA, interview practice, all this kind of stuff, which I still try to incorporate in my videos.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. So I think, that's been a comprehensive overview. We've had a chat as colleagues and, discussed various important points. We've talked about your journey as well, which, tabarakallah, is a beautiful journey. May Allah allow you to excel, and obviously, for your following to be used and in the best possible way to spread the best possible message that can be, inshallah, for you. And at the end of the day, allow you to reach new heights. And allow everyone, all the viewers, all the viewers to benefit from the advice. And inshallah, until next time. Assalamu alaikum. Take care. All the best.
Assalamu.